Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson. You're watching the 5 Off, 5 On Racing Show. Welcome to another fine evening of race talk. I see the chat room is already in full swing. Yes, you know. What are you going to do? It's all good. But anyway, a lot to talk about today, as always. We got some stuff going on. The Southern Modified Tour had their inaugural race this year. At the Caraway Speedway in North Carolina. And the Cup guys and the Xfinity teams were in Phoenix. If you watched any of those events, well, we'll talk about that. It's another photo finish, but the race up until then wasn't really a race, in my opinion, but like I said, we'll talk about that. A lot of stuff going on. Tony Stewart, showing his face at the racetracks too. It's all good stuff, all good stuff. But anyway, moving forward, Joe Gibbs Racing driver Eric Jones, he failed post-race inspection after winning a pole and finishing second at the Xfinity race in Phoenix. The car was found to have a rear alignment discrepancy. Now, when they measure these things, it's no longer that taking a tape measure and levels and stuff. They use lasers. So the error factor is almost non-existent. So when they use the lasers are set up and there's certain points that they look at. And when they look at the rear alignment, there is a tolerance in the rules where it could be, but when they look at the alignment of the rear wheels, it has to be a certain way. And you know, think about it. Those of you who are racers out there, when you've taken, you kind of move your rear a little bit, it helps you turn. And maybe that's what they did. Maybe that's why they were so fast. Maybe that's why they finished second, in that race. So, and the last, it's kind of funny because the last time this happened, the crew chief was fined some money. So we're going to see, because a similar issue happened for Richard Childress Racing on the number 2 car a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta, where crew chief Danny Stockman was fined $5,000 and put on probation through December 31st. Now, you wonder, why these fines for a little infraction like that are so high. Now think about it, these teams are making millions of dollars, so you don't think that the crew chief or the crew member who gets these fines, they're gonna reach into their pocket, they're gonna go home to their wives and say, oh listen, I need a check for $5,000, I was suspended by NASCAR until I pay, and I did something else. I really think the team management picks up these tabs for these things. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm gonna ask somebody the next time I go to a Sprint Cup or Xfinity race and I'm walking around the garage, I'm going to ask somebody, who actually pays these fines? Now, I know the fines supposedly go into the point fund and all that kind of good stuff, but like at the weekly tracks, the fines are supposed to go into their point funds. And before you start bashing in the chat room, every NASCAR track has a point fund, and it's furnished by NASCAR based on the payoff, the purse paid. I believe it's 5% of the purse paid goes to NASCAR on like Tuesday following the events. And that's where those of you who are drivers and finished in the top 20 in points get that check at the end of the year from NASCAR. That's from the monies paid by the racetrack. So, so before somebody gets on there and says, oh, my track don't have a point fund, every NASCAR track has a point fund. Maybe they don't have the old type of point funds based on a $5 per tire, a situation that kind of stopped at a lot of the racetracks. But there was a point fund, and Snooky dip. Hello back. Thank you. But anyway, it's good to see Tracy from Bethel is on today. Always a pleasure to have Tracy. Even though it's the off season, this girl works harder in the off season, I think, than she does during the season. And I want to thank her for taking time out of her busy schedule to come. And it's for everybody else too. We all have things, we all have lives, and between work, and I know Fig 822 isn't on yet. I know this guy, he works some crazy hours, and it was his birthday. He turned the big 50, so happy birthday to 22 Figure 8 and turning the big 50. And speaking of birthdays, my youngest, my babies, my twin girls, Erin and Kerry, turned 24 today. I want to wish them a happy birthday. A little shout out to them. For those who know them and know me, know it was no easy battle for them to grow because they were preemies when they were born, and together they didn't weigh 5 pounds. And who knew? Who knew? It was a scary time. And now my daughter Erin is a NASCAR Weekly All-American Racing Series chief scorer here at the Riverhead Raceway, and also races in WKA and the World Karting Association, and will be back in 2016 after a horrific crash she had last year. And Kerry is just Kerry's just a race fan. She comes and does her things at the races, preparing to be a peace officer of some kind, whether a corrections officer or NYPD or Suffolk County PD. She's working towards that goal. So happy birthday to my girls. I love them. I don't know where I'd be without them sometimes. And it's just a good thing. I brought them into this racing business, and they never left. I call my kid, they were track rats back in the day. And you look back, and I remember going into New Egypt. The first time I took them to a dirt track, and we get in the car, my daughter Carrie, she had a big ball of mud and rubber, and she was covered head to toe because she was like right by the fence trying to catch the mud balls. But anyway, enough of that. But had some good fun, good times, good memories at the races with my kids, and between go-karting and all that kind of stuff. But them were involved with their local racetrack. So again, happy birthday. Happy birthday. And little, not sad news, it's going to work out. A good friend, Marty Himes Sr., the curator of the Himes Museum of Race and Nostalgia, had a little scare this past weekend. Apparently he was cleaning parts with racing gasoline. Maybe not the smartest thing to do, but the parts are pretty clean. But what happened was the gas splashed on his arms and face, and no Marty, he's not going to stop what he's doing. He just kind of wiped it off and finished what he was doing. And the next day he woke up all blistered and sore and swollen, and he was taken to the emergency room, and he was admitted to the hospital over the weekend. He was sent home today. He's doing better, but it was kind of scary. He got some blood poisoning out of it. And it just goes to show you got to be careful. Whether you're working in the pit area, you're working in the garage, gasoline is a serious thing. And racing gasoline is very potent stuff. And if you saw his arms, I saw pictures of his arms and hands, you would have thought he was in a fire and got burned. So, the prayers, everybody prayed for Marty over the weekend. Apparently that worked because they sent him home today. So hope Marty's feeling better, hope he's recuperating, and I hope that he doesn't do that again. At least wear like a rubber suit or gloves or something, But it was a scary moment for Marty and his family this past weekend. But Long Island E for Speed is in the chat room today. I wanted to thank Kevin for his efforts. He has some meeting. He won't be able to be here with us tonight, so he's going to be in the chat room as we've seen so far today. So, anyway, Long Island E for Speed. While I got on that subject, the Project Modified is looking for help as always. So, if there's anything you can do to help out, get that nostalgia car back, the Maynard Troyer number 6. need some help. Need some help. And you know, when you look at the racing past, you know, some of these cars, we don't want these cars to just sit and rust away and just have trees and weeds growing through them. But there's groups that still race these cars competitively. They race these cars, and the old D cars back from when we were kids, and from some of you guys out there who weren't even born yet. And these guys race it like they're racing for, you know, big bucks. Meantime, they're just racing for bragging rights till the next show. But you know, we'll see. We'll really see. And you know, if anybody's out there that wants to help out, it'd be really gratefully appreciated. But anyway, moving forward. Moving forward. All right. Yes, the Modified Touring series, this new series, is going to hold their inaugural event at the Monadnock Speedway in New Hampshire on May 21st. The purse will pay $15,000 to win, with 200 laps being the distance. This is the first event for the Modified Touring Series, and this was an event they announced over the winter that had a lot of following. A lot of people were looking to do that and get into it, and he was hoping to have a 4-race schedule for 2016, their inaugural season, and it looks like right now there's only one, and that's the one at Monadnock. And here's the problem that I see, or the situation that this series has faced. What has happened, there's been a lot of branching off with tour-type modified cars, trying to pull off and do their own thing, like the Valente Modified Series. And what it's done, in my opinion, it's kind of watered down modified racing. So instead of having 60 cars showing up in a NASCAR Modified Tour race, now what you're getting is 25 go to this one, maybe 20 to that one, 16 or 18 to that one, and then there's other little series that, you know, maybe don't even get that many cars. And each series promises not to be like the others. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to explain that when we come back. We're going to take a break, and we come back. I'm going to explain what I mean by that when we come back.
Hey, this is Chris Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
This is Sarah Martin at Daytona International Speedway, and you're watching Inravio TV.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hey, we're back. Anyway, like I was saying, this is what happens. Years ago, and I'm going to say maybe 10 years or so ago, back maybe longer, 2003, the late Tom Baldwin and I, we had a little chat. We were sitting on his pile of tires one day, and he says to me, "Joe, it's time for a new series. It's time for another modified series. He goes, would you come on board?" And I looked at him, I was like, "Tom, that's a big undertaking. What do you think?" And you know, and the late Tom Baldwin, there's no question about it. He was very outspoken about his feelings towards NASCAR and how it was being treated, the modifieds. But you know what? The guy was intelligent when it came to this stuff. And he really felt that we needed a new series, not to take away from NASCAR, but to kind of wake people up and saying, hey, this is what we should be doing, this is what we need to do. And some of the things that were going on at the time, as the rules changes were being kind of done based on a tiny little group of people that came out of a little state just south of us. And none of the other teams were privy to some of these discussions. And that little group then would go to the series director and say, hey, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that, maybe we should do the other thing, with no regard for the other teams. It was like if somebody found a loophole, if they were in the circle, they got away with it. But if you were outside that circle, you didn't. So anyway, new series, he wants to start a new series. And I'm thinking, if that tragic event 2004 did not happen, Tom Baldwin would have started his own series. Trust me, for the modifieds. And what has happened since then, you had all these other little groups, the True Value series, which then became the Valente Modified series. And I don't knock any of them. They're all good series. They all do the best they can, and I'm going to add with what they have. And what do I mean by that? You sit back and you listen to teams, you listen to the gripes, and you listen to the needs of these teams and the car owners. And some of the things they ask for is, we need to spend less money. So a new series will come in and they'll put together a rules package that's, safety is foremost, and that's first and foremost. But the rich teams can't go out and buy 20 tires, and so they can get the best set. Everybody has the same shot at getting tires in the other series. The crew members aren't required to have all this other safety gear because they don't make pit stops. It's green flag racing. There's a lot of things that they listen to from the teams that were upset. Now, trust me, when I first went into the NASCAR Wheel & Modified Tour, we were sending home more cars than we were racing. And I remember over 65 cars showed up on Long Island for a tour race. We were starting 28. That's 37 cars that went home. And that day, and I just looked at it recently when I was cleaning up some stuff, and the difference between getting the pole, the fastest car out there, and going home was under 0.3 of a second. I think that's a burp. That's a hiccup. That's how competitive this series was. And then maybe there should have been a B main if they had more cars, and kind of like the Dirt series does, and the Lucas Oil series. And they don't like sending people home. You went to race, you bought the tires, you bought the fuel, let's use it up. So these new series come in and they're going to make all these changes. Now what happens is they go to the opposite extreme in some events, in some cases, and the teams don't like that. So now with another series as well, you know what? Let's build upon that and let's make that happen. Maybe we could get some of those guys who don't like that. We're going to change that rule because they're going to come with us. And what happens? And I say this when weekly racing series tracks start a new division or a new racing class. It comes out, somebody goes to these promoters or to the local officials and, hey, we need a division that does this. We need a division that's going to feed this division. We need a division that's going to be less cost to the teams. So they come up with it. Now, the plan is, as a promoter, because what the little circle of people who went to the promoters and the officials, their plan was, hopefully we could get new drivers to come in. That's not what happens. What happens is some of the back markers and guys who aren't even making some of these shows say, hey, you know what? There's only like 12 cars. Maybe I'll go in that division. I'll do better. And now what's happened is you've watered down divisions. And take a racetrack that 10, 15 years ago that had well over 100 cars in the pits with 4 divisions. And I'm just making these numbers up because I don't have specifics. So you have 100 plus cars in the pits. You have 4 divisions. That's 25 teams, per class. and you're going to start 20. And that's great. So you have some heat races, some qualification races, for like they call them consolation races, and then you fill your field and you go racing. It's all good. Now the guy that's just missing it every week, oh wait, there's this new division. The chassis is good. I got the roll cage. Just got to go get a motor. I'm going to do that. I'm going to save money. I'm going to make money actually because I'm going to be qualifying all the time. And what happens? Now, you still have that same 100 drivers, but now it's not 4 divisions of 25 in a car, it's 5 divisions of 20. And they decide, let's have another division. This division's losing cars because there's nobody feeding into it, so let's start this other division. Again, it becomes drivers who are back markers who will take this as an opportunity to win, and now you have 6 divisions with 100 cars. Do the math. Now you're down to 17 cars. Before you know it, you have a bunch of divisions with 10 cars in it. Let's go back 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Some of you guys in the chat room, gals, you can't even imagine going back 40 years because you weren't even born yet. So let's just go back. Let's go back to the 70s. I can remember going not to only ISO Speedway, but out to Riverhead Raceway too back in the day, and there was 2 divisions. It was modifieds, figure 8s. Yeah, Riverhead had the bombers. Freeport back in the day had the what they call bombers as well. And maybe there were 3 divisions. But the modifieds and the figure 8s, they were the staple at ISO Speedway. And they had 60, 70 cars in the figure 8 class, and they had a ton of cars in the modifieds, and guys from all over the East Coast were showing up at ISO Speedway to just chase those points. Because back then, your points were based, you had national points. So if you raced on a NASCAR track, you got the points. You got those points. That's how they picked the national champion. So what has happened is that's kind of fizzled away because, well, let's make a division. Because, I could picture this. I wasn't privy to these meetings. I was just a kid myself. But when I just think about this now, here's a guy that has some money, but he's looking to, get rid of it. So he's going to go racing. But he can't afford the modified. And we're talking 40 years ago. He can't afford the modified, and a figure 8 scared the heck out of him here on Long Island. And he needs a division that's going to be a little different. He needs like an oval track division, like a street stock. So what happens? Lo and behold, we get a street stock division. It's all good. All of a sudden, the rules were simple. Now guys are reading between the rules, and these street stocks became pretty fancy for like $100 to win back then. So now they have a big meeting. They don't want to be called street stocks. They want to be called late models. And all of a sudden, now you have a modified with fenders. Well, now guys say, I can't afford that. I want to be in another division. And it just snowballs and blossoms. And, and drivers at the weekly tracks, and drivers at the higher level too, because, they say you can't make money racing. And you can if you do it right. But all of a sudden, it's all of a sudden the teams have made it the promoter's problem that we're not making money here. You haven't raised a person in 10 years. Well, you know what? It's like any other business. You got to operate your business based on the needs of your business and what kind of return you're going to get. So if you're going to put $20,000 into a race car that pays $150 to win, who's the dummy? We are. We've all done it. We've all done it. You could win every race. You still lost a boatload of money. So instead of doing these feeder divisions, and I'm not picking on any one single division because you do need that. You do need these feeder divisions. But you need a division that at every racetrack that any driver, any kid, any man, woman, or child that wants to race could go into it with minimal cost and hone their skills. And when you look at purses, it's tough to come up with a purse structure that's fair for everybody. Because let's face it, the promoters, it's not up to them to make sure you make money. That's up to you as a team owner, as a driver, to make money. Okay? You can't go to your promoter and say, hey, 5 years ago it cost me, my motor cost $3,000. Now it costs $7,000, and the purse hasn't changed. That's not their fault or problem. That's yours. You chose to do that. So what you need to do is you need to scale back. But this is what happens. You know, Goggles Paisano goes in your division and he starts winning like crazy. So what does everybody do? They got to imitate what he had. The late Peggy Smith, when she was winning all those street stock races at Islip back in the 70s, she had a Chevelle with a 350 motor. The following year, everybody showed up with a Chevelle with a 350 motor. Imitation. I had one guy say to me one time, because this was a year, I think it was 76 or 77, at Riverhead Raceway, I'm sorry, again, at Islip Speedway, and Chris Young won every single qualifying event he was in that year and won the championship. He didn't win any features, but he won the championship because he chased points. And one guy says to me, well, he's just staring at Chris Young. He's like, I says, what's the matter? He goes, I'm just watching to see what he does. He does what we do. He brings his car, he unloads it, he goes racing. Yeah, but he's got to be doing something. He's winning every week. Oh, he's cheating. He's got to be cheating. I got to catch him. And then I'm sitting, I says, why do you guys think that? So another guy in that little group, that little circle I was hanging out with, and he said, you know, if Chris Young, the late Chris Young, if he would have put syrup in his gas, I would have done the same thing because he's winning all the time. That's what happens. That's what happens, and it shouldn't be. So getting back to new division, you know, when you start a new model like this, the Modified Touring Series that just came out, they're going to have, like I said, their inaugural race on the Monadnock Speedway in May. They can't get dates at all the other racetracks because how much, you know, especially once they have a $15,000 to win purse, that's bigger than the Tour gets to race at New Hampshire, where they pay about $11,000 or $12,000 to win. Bristol, the same thing, $11,000, $12,000 to win in Modified Tour. That's a $150,000 purse in round numbers. I'm not thinking, you know, a Stafford or a Thompson or a Seekonk or a Beech Ridge or a Holland or a Spencer or a Chemung or a Riverhead is going to want to come up with that kind of cha-ching to bring that series in. When the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour guys, their purses runs around, you know, 50, 60,000 for most of the events other than the shorter track ones, the Monadnocks and the Riverheads, and you know, those size tracks. But they're looking at $50,000, $60,000 purses, $6,000, $7,000 to win other than the Bristols and the New Hampshires. So I think they shot themselves in the foot because they're promising these teams all this extra money, but you know, they're going to build a car for one event. There's something to think about. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the stuff that went on in Phoenix this past weekend when we come back.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Willie. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hansen Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hansen Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansenCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hansen Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, we're back. We are back. Hey, before we get into the Phoenix stuff, the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour was at Caraway Speedway in North Carolina this past weekend. Burt Myers getting his opening win with Bobby Miesema Jr. second. Danny Bond, who started on the pole, finishing third. Jason Myers, Burt's brother, finishing fourth. Andy Seiss finishing fifth. Brandon Bach of Long Island, sixth. Georgie Brunhustle, third, seventh. Jeffrey Goodale, Long Island, eighth. Richie Pillai Jr., ninth in the Hill Enterprises Hillbilly Racing. And Jerry Gerstner, say that 3 times fast, rounding out the top 10. 16 cars for the Southern Modified Tour showed up at Caraway. That's about average for them. Good show was put on by all. So Burt Myers, nice win for Burt. Burt's one of those guys. I'll tell you, Burt was one of my original call-in guests, and I want to share a quick story about that. I saw Burt at probably at Caraway or South Boston. I was working an event, and I asked him. I said, Burt, I do this show, you know, the 505 Racing Show. Can I get you to call in and talk to us? He goes, oh, I don't know, you know, give me the information. And the following day, we were at the track, and he goes, hey, you know, I talked to my dad, and he said, we could do this. He goes, now, when is it? I said, Monday. He goes, oh, Monday nights are in the shop. So, you know, my daddy said that I could only talk for like 10 or 15 minutes. So we were 2 hours back then. We were like 7 to 9. So I said, okay, let's talk in the afternoon, and we'll condense everything real quick. Make sure you name all your sponsors and, you know, all your accomplishments and that. So he's like, all right, you're good, we're good. So I do my normal stuff, and about 7:30, you know, we call him up, and we start talking racing. I only got 15 minutes now, you know. So I'm going to talk 7:30 to 7:45 and then take a break. All of a sudden, I realize it's 8:10, and we're still talking and talking and talking. We're talking racing. And we're talking about the good days and the not so good days. And it just went on and on and on. So we wrap it up with Burt. I finished the show, and now it's a scramble for me to get all the stuff that I was prepared to, because Burt was only going to talk to me for 15 minutes, because that's what his daddy said. So a couple of races later, I ran and I said, Burt, I got to ask you a question. I don't know about in the South, but in the North, 15 minutes is 15 minutes. And he starts laughing. He goes, I didn't realize what kind of a show you guys had. And my daddy was watching on the computer, and he kept just doing that. Just keep talking, keep talking. And so you know, one of my first guests to call in, and it's good to see he's back in the winner's circle, because it's been a while for Burt. Struggling the last couple of years. And he does racing for a living. This is what he does. He doesn't have a job Monday through Friday other than get the race cars ready for the next one. You know, and it's a family operation. Myers Racing. And you know, his dad is good people. I had a lot of conversations with them. They always made me feel welcome when I was down in the South, you know, doing races. And then he came up and he's run Thompson a couple of times. So again, congratulations to Burt for that win. So anyway, so Phoenix, the Xfinity Series was at Phoenix, and Kyle Busch was the winner with Eric Jones on the pole, finishing second. We talked about what happened to Eric with his disqualification. That'll probably be a little crew chief fine and a smack in the hand and some points deducted. I'm thinking Daniel Suarez was third, Justin Allgaier was fourth, Chase Elliott was fifth, Ty Dillon sixth. Then we had Austin Dillon, his brother, seventh, Elliott Sadler eighth, Brad Keselowski ninth, and Brennan Poole rounding out the top 10 in the Xfinity. The next event will be the Auto Club Speedway in Michigan. That's a big, fast racetrack. The Cup Series, Kevin Harvick edged out Carl Edwards by 0.010 seconds, 1/100th of a second, or 4 inches. They were coming off of turn 4, beating and banging, and I'm like, wow. Green, white checker. Good hard racing. I love good hard racing. You know, and a lot of people say, oh, he tried to wreck him, You know what? Let me tell you something. Any of you guys out there that thought that was like not good, put your butt in the seat and you got a shot for the win and you're side by side. Tell me you're not going to give him at least a little bump, a little nudge. I'm thinking you're going to do more than a little nudge. You want that win just like the next guy. So that was an awesome, awesome finish. The race itself was kind of humdrum. And that's where these events are starting to head. And I don't know why. You know, maybe because the competition is so tight with only 39 cars again. The competition is so tight that you don't have those back marker or slower cars in the way. And what that's made for is, you know, everybody kind of hangs out. Let me just stay in the lead lap. There's an opening, I'll take it. They only race the last 25, 30 laps. They make that last pit stop. I think every lap until that last scheduled pit stop is just like a warm-up session. Let's just hang out. Let's be there at the end, because you have to win it, you got to be in it at the end. So this is what they do, in my opinion. And I think the next track, it's a 2-mile racetrack with a sweeping backstretch. It's a D-shaped racetrack. And you hit some serious speeds there. And I'm thinking it's just going to be bumper to bumper, maybe a guy go out, take a guy with him, you know, and you're going to be sitting there watching this race. There's no excitement in some of these big track races anymore, you know, not like Martinsville, which will be in a couple of weeks, where that short track racing at its best, Martinsville. If you come out of that race with your fenders and quarters and doors not dinged up, you didn't race hard enough, or you were out early. But, you know, I looked at that, and I even looked at, again, you know, I know the track's in the middle of nowhere. You know, they say it's Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's miles and miles away from Las Vegas. It's in the middle of the desert. And I looked at the seats, and I looked at, there was a lot of empty seats again. Now, how does that happen? Well, I'll tell you. Now, I know we've talked about this a couple of times. You know, what happens is this. You know, you go to the event this year, and a couple of weeks after that event, you get your bill for next year. And if you don't pay within like a certain amount of time, your seats, you lost them, and they go into the pools for other people. Now what's happening, it used to be waiting. I remember Bristol, there was a waiting list to get tickets to go to Bristol. Now what happens is nobody wants them because of the cost to get there, the hotels, and when I say the hotels, the price gouging that goes on during race week. And I understand, you know, maybe that's the only week you're gonna have people in your city or your town, but not Vegas. There's people there all the time. And when you kind of looked around, I'm like, the cameras, if you look back, I don't know if anybody DVR'd it. If you go back and look, the cameras are very careful not to show the empty seats. It's almost like there was an edict, don't show the empty seats here, you know. Like the late Larry Mendelson, Ipswich Speedway. He used to make the fans sit at the top and work their way down so it looked full. The guy was a showman. The guy knew how to make it happen. But there weren't a lot of people sitting in seats, and there's 39 cars again. I'm thinking you're going to see 39 cars the rest of the season, and as it gets to the chase, I think there's going to be even less. I don't know, maybe. I hope not, because what's happening is qualifying kind of doesn't mean anything anymore. You're in. I mean, 36 teams, the charter teams, they're in no matter what, but the other 4 available spots, they're up for grabs, but they're really not because there's only 3 guys that are showing up instead of the 4. And you know, the old start and park guy days are over, which I'm glad, I'm grateful for that. But anyway, but the good thing about Las Vegas this past week is Tony Stewart was there, and Tony Stewart has been cleared by his doctors to begin therapy, to begin rehab. Stewart had an off-track, as we know, accident on January 31st, playing around in his ATV. Stewart suffered a burst fracture of the L1 vertebrae, and that's not a good one. That's not good. And although his doctors are saying it's not good for him to be traveling to these events because they know, you know what happens. He's going to be walking around all day. He's going to be bending over, talking to his team, you know, and they really didn't think it was a good idea for him. But hey, he's old school. He's an old school guy. That's what he does. So You know, right now, Ty Dillon and will drive Stewart's car. He drove it this past weekend at Phoenix, and Dillon will split the time with Brian Vickers. Brian Vickers will be racing that car at the Auto Club Speedway this upcoming week. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. But right now, it looks like they're going to be splitting. And Brian Vickers, good to see him back. He's been making a slow recovery as well due to his health issues that he had in the past. So that's all good. That is all good. But moving forward, you know, injuries in racing they're going to happen. They're going to happen. It's the safety that NASCAR has put forth has evolved over the years, and it's gotten better and better and better and better. And I look at old videos and old races back when they took basically in the Sprint Cup series, they took a car out of the showroom and they drove that car to the racetrack. And as you know, the late Lee Petty used to say, you know, you hope you don't crash because you got to drive that car home. And you know, they tape up the headlights. And I remember watching a video, Lee Petty rolling down the car windows before he went out racing. The dash, the way it was in the showroom, that dash, all those knobs and buttons and all kinds of nonsense, you know, accident waiting to happen. So I said it's evolved over time. You know, you saw guys in the short sleeve T-shirts and that little leather helmet that they used to have. I don't know what that was going to save, but that's what they got from the Air Force after World War II. You know, that's what they were wearing. And you know, I look back and why weren't there so many more unfortunate deaths over the years? Yeah, a lot of rules were changed based on an incident on the racetrack. Window nets, when Petty had that flip, that end flip back in the late 60s, early 70s, and they decided to mandate window nets because his arm went out the window, and you saw his arm just flopping around. You know, the wheel that came through the windshield, and they put that bar now in there so nothing will fit through there. In the modified, it's the 7B bar, which is the bar right back here. It used to be, this was the 7A, which is, we called it the brain bar. Well, stuff was getting in there, so they added another bar. You know, they always added bars, Let's add a bar for this. And what has happened is engineers started getting involved and saying, wait, hold it, there's flex points here. Let's we take a bar and go from there on the bottom there to on the top. What'll happen is it'll strengthen it up. And you know, we used to use that big, heavy black pipe to make a roll cage. Now they're using this thinner pipe, and you would think, you know, years ago you would have said, I'm not going to do that. But no, that's the integrity of the cage is a lot stronger because of the angles in the brace and then the gussets that are used. And for those who know what gussets are, you have two pieces of pipe going like this, and they weld a tab in there, so the bar can't do that. And on and on and on. And you look back, you know, like the old midget cars back in the 40s and the 50s, like if you saw that movie, The Big Wheel, with Mickey Rooney, you know, they hopped in, there was no roll cage, and guys, they would crash, and guys would be thrown from the cars. And they're like, oh no, we can't have that. So all of a sudden they made seatbelts. Let's put seatbelts in the cars. Now what's happened is they didn't get thrown from the car, and when it flipped over, they broke their necks. So I had them a roll bar. And then the roll bar wasn't the next. Next thing you know, they're sitting in cages. But anyway, we're going to talk about the evolution of some of the safety changes when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared on Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
It's always been important to us to have music a part of our lives, part of our children's lives. At Village Music Shop, Bonnie and Chuck have not only made it possible for our kids to learn and understand and read music and enjoy playing a musical instrument, but they've also made it fun.
I really like coming here. I like coming to Village Music because everybody here is nice.
And they've inspired some creativity and imagination and taught them discipline. And along the way, they've gotten some self-confidence, really been like a part of our family.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Man, chat room's quiet today. I wonder why. But the regular crowd shuffled in, as they say, in an old Billy Joel song. But pretty quiet. You guys have nothing to talk about. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know. But anyway, safety. I remember when fire suits were first being mandated, and the drivers were like, no, it's too hot, it's too this, it's too whatever. They didn't want fire suits. And then the open-face helmets, everybody got used to them, myself included. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not, I wasn't like a star race car driver. But I can remember my open-face helmet and my goggles. I wore these little goggles just to keep the stuff out of my eyes. And I loved it. I loved it. Then all of a sudden, you couldn't get them. You had to have a full face, and I hated it. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I used to have the visor up, Why I would do that, I don't know. But, over time, a lot of people complain about, oh, another rule change. Oh, what are they trying? Who's making money here? You know what? I remember being in a modified touring race and Brian Chu. Somebody blew a motor and a chunk of the piston got into his cockpit. There was a little opening through the windshield. They had the curved windshields, and then you had the what they call it, it was the Earnhardt bar, and it came in and it hit him right in the helmet. Rang his bell a little bit, but it cracked the helmet. And all of a sudden now, a rule change came in that you had to have the flat windshield to stop that. Between the wire mesh, the thick wire mesh, and now the flat windshield. Stuff wasn't going to come in. So a lot of the safety rule changes came out as a direct result of a mishap on the racetrack. And yes, some drivers unfortunately gave their life to save others. And I always say everything happens for a reason. I'm not saying you want to see anybody lose their life racing. Please don't mistake that. But when something like that happens, sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees. So when an event like that happens, and you're like, oh wow, we need to do this, and we need to do this right away. Think of the evolution of safety over the years. I know a guy who used to wear like these boat shoes racing because they were light and he needed to move his feet better and quicker on the pedals. And I was like, why would you? I'm wearing like work boots because I didn't want my feet to get mangled, Well, imagine that. And when you look back at those things, the roll cage used to have just a 4-point roll, a point, and bars together. And the late Dan McTavish at Daytona was in a wreck and it ripped the whole front end of his car from the dashboard up forward because There were no bars connecting the front bumper to the roll cage to stop that from happening. And he lost his life. Within weeks, they called them Grand National bars, were mandated. Because, you know, why did they call them Grand National bars? Because the rule was a direct result of an accident in a Grand National stock car. You know, Dan McTavish from up here in the North New Jersey, as a matter of fact. You know, and I remember when that was on Wide World of Sports. I remember it was a tease. They teased you all for the hour and a half. You know, just going to let you know, we have from Daytona International Speedway, please judge if your children should watch this. It's very tragic. And they kept saying that, and they kept saying it. I remember my dad sitting there, and I looked at him, because usually when it came to stuff like that, he was like, you need to go in the other room. You're not seeing this. But he knew I was into racing. I guess he thought if I saw a guy get killed, that I would like change my ways. No, it just made me want to do it more, because that's not going to happen to me, you know. And I remember that. So I was maybe 8 years old. I remember seeing that, you know, and I was like, wow. And then of course, over the years, I witnessed some deaths at some of the tracks as well. That, you know, it was just surreal. But anyway, I don't want to go down that road. But when you look at the safety things that have come out, a lot of it has to do with a direct result of situations that have happened on the racetrack, like fuel cells. Guys are taking, you know, old gas tanks, Volkswagen gas tanks, strapping them in with baling wire. No, they were blowing up, people going on fire. When's the last time you saw a race car blow up from a crash and people getting burned? Other than when Juan Pablo Montoya crashed into the jet dryer. I don't know what he was thinking that day, but anyway. But think about some of those things. Think about these rules, you know. Tracy from Bethel, and I saw videos of her son Brian go end over end in his I believe it was his Bandolero car, and then he dusted himself off, and, you know, boom, here we go. I'm ready for next week. You know, it has to do with this safety stuff, you know, and it's got to be safe, you know. And people joke around today with me. To this day, it's September to be 20 years when I had that wreck, and it was the old, what they call it, the pizza box car. And for any of you guys out there that think I ran a race car at a pizza box firewall, it was not. Did that car have a pizza box firewall at one time? Yes, it did. And I remember looking at that one time, and I probably said this story once before. It had a little like hole like this, and I thought maybe a virus came through, and it was painted black. I was like, oh, we need to cover that hole. And the screwdriver went right through because it was a pizza box. Somebody drove that car away. I sure as heck didn't. But that's not why I got injured. I got injured for a multitude of reasons, and I'm not going to get into the who, what, when, where, and how much, and who should have, would have, could have, didn't. It was an accident. It was an accident. I'm still walking around today. I'm still doing good. You know, maybe that's a matter of opinion. But, you know, safety. And when I became an official after that, one of the things that I did not want to happen to another driver was what happened to me. And I would break their chops over, so you need to fix this, you need to fix this, you need to fix this. Oh, come on, I ran it that way for 10 years. Well, then you've been lucky for 10 years. If you go through a stop sign every week for a year, and all of a sudden on week 53 you get nabbed, you can't tell the cop, whoa, I go through this stop sign every time. No, you got to fix it. You got to change the behavior. And that's what happens. That's what happens. So, you know, safety, and it's tantamount. You know, and an old PR guy that's still PRing and announcing said to me, you know, if you got a $10 head, you get a $10 helmet. And he was told that by the late, great Walt Edsel. If you got a $10 head, you go get a $10 helmet. You go get the best. You get the best equipment that's available that's out there. The best helmet, the best gloves, the best underwear, the best shoes, the best fire retardant socks, the best fire suit. And that leads, I know it's coming to the end, but, you know, I walk around some of these weekly tracks, and I'm surprised these fire suits don't on fire just from the grease that's dripping from them. You know, I guess they never heard of a dry cleaner or a laundromat, but you got to have a good suit. You know, think about it, you're in your race car, it's on fire, you can't get out. Those fire suits, you're not going to be able to sit in the fire for a half hour, but it buys you time. And, you know, 10 seconds is like forever. You know, if it could buy you 10 seconds, that's forever. You know, but then you get burned because you had a cheap fire suit. Those scars that are on your legs and your butt and your arms, that's forever too. Think about that. Think about that. Even the Hans device. Guys say, oh, I hate this stupid thing. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I sat in my race car before that crash that day. I need to adjust my mirror. I'm sitting on my seat, and I go to adjust my mirror, and I can't reach it. So I loosen up the belts. I go back up. That's good. I tighten myself back up. Well, my helmet hit that mirror. How do I know that? Because my helmet was red, and the mirror frame that was black was now red, and the glass shards in the top of my helmet. So that's how much your body's. So if you have a Hans device, your head ain't going nowhere. Yeah, you might be a little sore later, but you know what? Nothing's broken. And you're still living. Look at that. Imagine that. Yeah, anyway, we're going to wrap it up. I know we kind of went on and on and on, but I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to watch our show tonight. Again, this is your show. This is what you guys do on Monday night. Some people bowl, some people watch TV, some people watch Dance with the Stars. You know, some people go to the diner, whatever you want to do. But on Monday nights, you guys are here. You guys and gals are here watching the show and talk racing, and it's all good. And I just saw that somebody said about a swing set pipe or roll cage. I'll talk about that next week. But anyway, again, I want to thank everybody. So wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this week, please be safe. Please be careful. Tell somebody you love them. Give me a hug. God bless you all. And we'll see you next week on the 505 on Racing Show. Thank you.